All right, in today's video, we're going to be focusing exclusively on the quarter scale arcade cabinets from Numskull Designs. Now, I had a lengthy discussion with them where we talked past, present, and future for the brand, and we learned all sorts of great details about their licensing, the development, headaches with manufacturing, development, and just what it takes to produce these amazing quarter scale arcade cabinets. So grab your favorite popcorn, beverage of choice, sit down. I've got timestamps in the video description box below in case you want to skip to any of the more pertinent tidbits, and hope you guys enjoy. So first and foremost, I just want to say thank you for taking the time out of your day to sit here and chat arcades, video games, and just share some of your insight as far as the Numskull Quarter Arcade lines. For those out there viewing this and listening to this interview, could you go ahead and introduce yourself and kind of give us a little bit of a background on your professional association with Numskull?
Sure. Thanks, Doug. So my name is Ben Grant. I'm one of the co-founders of Numskull. I started in the computer games industry when I was 17. I worked for a mail order company in the UK that sold video games through telesales. I then joined EB Games, who's a retailer I'm sure you're aware of. They had a UK office. We had UK stores. So I worked with them from 19 up until the age of 31. We rebranded, we detached ourselves from EB Games in America and rebranded ourselves to Game. I think in America it changed to GameStop. So then we became competitors. But I worked for Game as the head buyer in the UK. I then moved to Sweden, then on to France, Spain, and finally Australia with the business where I was marketing director. And then I left there in 2011 and set up business with a friend of mine in 2012 called Numskull. So we've been going 11 years now. We produce many lines. I can see that you've got the Back to the Future lamp there in the background. That's one of ours.
Yeah,
and Quarter Arcades, which is what we want to talk to you about today.
Awesome. So you've definitely been in the video game industry for quite a while, it sounds like. You've seen all sorts of things change and evolve over the years, and I'm sure you've worn many hats, as it sounds like, whether it be marketing or purchasing. Is there any of that's really kind of helped get your foot started with Numskull as far as starting the brand?
Yeah, so back when I was down in Australia working for Game, we noticed that merchandise was getting bigger and bigger. People didn't just want to play video games. They wanted to collect merchandise in and around that. We sold a lot of Mario toys and remote control cars. This was, 11 years ago. So then we decided, wow, this is going to explode. So me and my good friend, Matt Precious, who's my business partner, we decided to start our own venture. The first license that we obtained was PlayStation. We designed and manufactured PlayStation wallets and keychains, and that was the start of something that then has escalated to where we are today, doing quarter arcades and tubs, ducks, and lamps and whatnot.
So at what point did you guys start mulling around the idea of creating the quarter scale arcade line? Was it early or is it later? Or
It was one of the first ideas. So funny story, how it's like a sliding doors moment. So my business partner is very much a massive arcade fan, and he wanted replica arcades this size for his desk. So we went off and handmade 3 samples. We did Star Wars, we did Track and Field, and we did Street Fighter 2. Handmade, all working, quarter scale. So we went to see Disney first with Star Wars, and they loved the idea and agreed to give us a license, but it would only cover the UK, which we needed the global license, but they weren't willing to do that. So that was discounted. We then went to Konami. We showed them Track and Field. They loved the idea, and we got a contract to do Track and Field. And then we took it to Konami. So Konami have 3 offices. They have the UK, Japan, and USA. And we went to Capcom UK's offices in central London with this working Street Fighter 2 machine, and they were blown away by it. This is fantastic, best thing we've ever seen. And they got the president in, who was over from Japan, to come and play it in the office, and it was like, wow, this is a slam dunk. They love it. This is going to be the first one we do. So we talked terms and agreed terms with them. As part of the Capcom process, they have to run it past the US and the Japanese office just to make sure they're not stepping on anyone's toes. The feedback came back was from Capcom USA. I'm sorry, you can't do this. We've already signed a partner to make miniature replica arcades. And we were like, what? No, we smelt a rat. We thought, I think they've seen it, and they're probably going to do it themselves. Fast forward 12 months, a New Wave Toys had brought out a Street Fighter. So New Wave Toys beat us to the punch on Street Fighter. So that could have been the first one we did. We didn't know anything about New Wave Toys, and I'm sure they didn't know anything about us. But we'd both gone for the same machine. And I don't know whether it was days or weeks, but they'd beaten us to the punch. So we had to go off in a different direction, and we signed Namco.
It's kind of amazing how separated by thousands of miles, similar ideas come across from different companies, completely separate from one another. Obviously there's scale differences and some other subtle differences between you and the New Wave Toys, but it's interesting to hear that you guys were both kind of hitting the nail on the head at the same time, and knocking on the same doors, trying to come to terms with a similar concept.
Yeah. Big fans of New Wave Toys, what they've done. They absolutely knocked Street Fighter 2 out of the ballpark with what they did. We're big fans of what they do. We learn from them, and I'm sure they learn from us. I'm sure we go through the same challenges. They've got the 6 scale, which works well with the action figures, and some people want to collect that scale, and our one's obviously quarter scale. My personal opinion is that ours are more playable just because of the size. It makes it easier. But yeah, we are competing in a similar space for the same licenses, but we're big fans of what they do.
And I see a question come up a lot of times in fan groups and things like that, as far as regarding to what has been released already by New Wave Toys. And you kind of alluded to it with Street Fighter, as far as not really being able to release the same machine. Are there going to be any releases in the future that you guys tackle that have already been done by New Wave Toys, or is that kind of something that you just kind of want to steer clear from?
No, 100%. We will go back and we will make 6 scale quarter scale arcade cabinets. Centipede, Tempest, Street Fighter, Food Fight, and Missile Command are certainly ones that I want to do, and we will release them. Obviously, not inside the next 2 years because we've already announced what we're doing. But we will go back and manufacture those licenses.
That's great. I mean, that especially for people that are collecting the entire lineup and maybe collect both brands. Some, like you said, may prefer the quarter scale just for the larger size, being able to physically play it a little easier. But that's it's reassuring that if there's a hole in their collection, so to speak, with some classic game like Centipede, that you won't have to wait forever to see that in the future, and it's not completely off the board or anything like that.
Yeah, no, agreed. I think some of those are my favorite games, so we certainly want to go back and put our quarter scale slant on them.
So the first bit of machines you guys released, it was a lot of, your Bandai Namco, your Pac-Man, your Miss Pac-Man, Galaga, Galaxian. You even had some Urban Legend Polybius for your USB hub. What kind of decisions and factors go into picking these titles that you guys are going to go ahead and develop?
So quite simply, it's around the licenses that are available. And I put licenses into 4 buckets. So you have the licenses that are very clean. So Namco, they own Pac-Man, they own Galaga, they own Galaxian. There's no other parties involved. It's very clean, it's very simple, and you can do a deal in terms of royalties and minimum guarantees with them. You've then got the second bucket where it starts to get a bit convoluted, where there's multiple players involved. So the balloons just came on the screen.
I saw that. Happy,
I think it's a new Zoom feature.
Happy birthday or something.
My hands.
Not sure what started that, but either way,
it's someone's birthday. Yes, so there's a second bucket where licenses have multiple owners, so it's a bit more tricky to get them off the ground. So if you think around Turtles, it's Konami and Nickelodeon now, who own the Turtles license. Konami did the original machine. And then you've got the music rights. So with Turtles, there's 3 contracts. With Ghostbusters, which we announced over the weekend, there's 4 licenses. So you've got Sony Pictures that owns Ghostbusters. You've got Data East, who made the original cabinet. And then you've got 2 licenses around the music and sound effects. So sometimes they're a bit difficult. Sometimes they're fairly straightforward. You've then got the third bucket, which is arcades that are lost forever. You just, no one knows who owns the rights. Going back to the 70s, 80s, and 90s, these companies that made the cabinets never thought in 30, 40 years time, we might want to re-release them. You know, someone's going to make miniature versions of it. So, you know, the paperwork and ownership just gone. No one knows who owns it. And then you've got the fourth bucket where you've got the big guys like Disney, who own Star Wars in conjunction with Atari. But the minimum guarantees, the money they want to make a replica Star Wars is, you know, you're starting at $500,000.
Substantial, yeah.
So, yeah, it's huge. So if you're going to make a miniature quarter scale Star Wars, you're going to need to sell 25 to 50,000 units. Now, you know, we're not doing that at the moment. You know, we're 2,000 to 3,000 units of each arcade. So it's a massive investment. I think one day we will do it. You know, once the install base and we're selling tens of thousands, then we can go back and get the Star Wars licenses. There's other licenses like Universal Entertainment. They did, I think it's 29 cabs, maybe. No, 19. They did 19 cabinets, and they're all the similar shape and size. Now, the ownership's passed on. So Universal Entertainment somehow ended up with Vivendi. I don't know how. Activision bought Vivendi, and now Microsoft have brought Activision. So Microsoft, I don't think Microsoft know, but they now own the Universal Entertainment arcades. But they don't know. So we had a conversation with Activision a couple of years ago around that, because there's 19 cabs there, and it would have been fairly straightforward to manufacture them. They know they own the name Mr. Do, so they know they own Mr. Do, but they don't know whether they own the artwork. They don't know whether they own the gameplay. They don't know who else is involved. Now they can find out. It's going to take some expensive lawyers to go back digging through history and find out from the chain of events, from, you know, Vivendi to Activision to Microsoft, etc., who owns what. But unless we're going to pay them substantial amount of money, it's not worth getting the lawyers out of bed. So, no, we're paying tens of thousands of dollars for these licenses. Activision's an $8 billion company. You know, me offering $50,000-$60,000 doesn't interest them.
No, they don't even get out of bed for that.
Exactly. So to answer your question, with the four buckets, the easiest ones to do are the ones that are clean. So Namco, Atari, Taito, Data East, they know what they own and what they don't own. So it's fairly straightforward. So when you're fishing in that pond, it's fairly straightforward what your releases are. Polybius, no one owns Polybius. So, you know, we did that. You know, we'll talk about the Pepsi and the 7-Up. It's clean because Pepsi know they own Pepsi and they own 7-Up. So when it starts getting a bit grey, that's when it gets a lot more difficult. But, you know, we are talking to Nintendo. We'd love to do Donkey Kong, Mario, and Popeye. I'm not sure where that will go. We're talking to Disney, but we know sort of the numbers that they need. We're talking to Activision and Microsoft again about Universal Entertainment. Sega, again, you know, we offered $750,000 to do the Sega ones, which was, they've got 12 cabs, you know, Golden Axe, Shinobi, Altered Beast. But it's not of interest to them. You know, if they're going to do it, they might do it themselves.
Yeah, and I imagine that was probably going to be a hard sell for companies like Nintendo and Sega, because they are such large players in the industry as far as manufacturing and things like that. I always kind of thought that if they wanted to do something like that, they would probably take it upon themselves. Yeah,
you know, that's the thing. So, you know, we are talking to Nintendo, and would love to do it. But I imagine, and they've not said this, but I imagine the internal conversations are Donkey Kong's and Mario Brothers are key jewels in our crown. We manufacture hardware ourselves. If we're going to do it, we probably want to do it ourselves. But if we are going to let a third party do it with our name, then we want substantial money to do that. You know, and you're talking millions to do it. So I'm not sure where that conversation is going to go. But there's plenty more. You know, we're talking to Warner Brothers because they've got the Williams lineup. So Defender, Moon Patrol, Mortal Kombat, and Joust. But again, it's not their key line of business. Warner Brothers are making so much money out of Harry Potter and Batman, DC Comics, that it's going to take, you know, $1 million to get their interest on something like that. But there are others.
I imagine it's difficult, like you said, when it's not their key business. to, garner interest and get everybody around the table to start talking, licensing and negotiation when they can do other IPs that they, house for larger chunks of change and, more eyes on the prize, so to speak. So just having those conversations is a task in itself.
It is. I'm hoping that, there's one or two reasons it will happen. It will either be because the commercial stuck up for the license holders to get the lawyers out of bed to go and find who owns what, or it's because someone there wants this on their desk.
Yeah,
a
really personal connection with somebody on the other end of the table. That would be great. I mean, and I think once they see, like a prototype or something, I think it'll, essentially sell itself, because the proof is in the pudding, as they say. Once you can see it and, put your hands on it, have that tactile experience, it, kind of delivers.
We've gone down dead ends trying to get licenses. So Sunset Riders is probably a prime example. It's a Konami arcade, and it's actually the same cab shape as this.
Mm-hmm.
So the development is going to be fairly simple, because we've done the tooling, we've got the arcade, we've just got to put Sunset Riders artwork and the ROM and get it functioning. But having spoken to Konami about it, they don't know who owns the artwork. They don't know who owns the audio, and it's basically Sunset Riders will never happen because they don't know who owns what. Now, if we were to offer a substantial amount of money, then it's worth them getting the lawyers out of bed and finding who owns what. But it's not. Sunset Riders would sell 2,000 or 3,000 units. So
for sure. I mean, that's a great game, and like you said, it goes perfectly with that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cabinet shape, and having Ninja Turtles and Sunset Riders and a lot of the other Konami 4-player beat 'em ups kind of lined up in a row is like a collector's dream come true. So it's unfortunate.
It's the same cab as Simpsons as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, they've released a bunch of iconic beat 'em ups in the 90s timeframe, late 80s, and it's amazing. If you go to an arcade or something, they've got multiples lined up. It's like a childhood boy fantasy dream come true to see them all lined up. But as you mentioned, just unfortunately things get hairy and difficult when it comes to licensing. One roadblock I know you guys ran into early on was with track and field, and it had a lot to do with artwork and licensing and not really knowing who owned what. Is there any future hope that maybe gets lined out, or is that kind of again in the bucket of getting the lawyers out of bed for a substantial investment type of thing?
So as I alluded to right at the beginning, we actually made a prototype working sample of track and field, and we took it to Konami, and they said, "Yeah, love this, you can do it." And we agreed terms, and we signed a contract. We even went to BMG, who own the music. So at the end of the game, it plays Chariots of Fire. So we signed the contract with BMG to do the music rights as well. So it was all done. And then when we submitted the artwork for approval, it goes to Japan, and there's someone in Japan, Konami Japan, said, "Hold on, we don't own the artwork here, so you can't do it. You can release it, but you need to change the artwork." And we were, well, no,
that's part of the appeal.
The artwork's half what makes these arcade machines beautiful. So we tried. Konami are still speaking to the person who designed the artwork, so we are hopeful that one day they agree terms. We have offered to step in and agree terms separately with the artist, but for whatever reason they want to do it themselves, and I respect that. Because it's not just our product. I think they want the artwork to release other icons.
Well, it makes sense that they would tie that down themselves first and foremost.
So we're waiting in the wings, front and center. We've done all the development for it. As soon as they say that we can use the artwork, we'll release that cabinet.
So I know, speaking of older announcements and things you guys have been working on for a long time, Space Invaders, that was one of your earliest announcements, and it's been literally years in the making. Can you guys describe a little bit about what's been going on behind the scenes as far as the development of Space Invaders, and maybe some changes that have been going on with the quarter scale arcade lineup that have maybe caused some hiccups and delays?
So I think, if I'm being brutally honest, we were very naive. When we signed the Space Invaders license, I mean, it's so iconic. It's one of the biggest brands out there. we thought naively it was made in 1978. So for us to re-engineer technology from 1978, this is going to be easy.
Yeah, piece of cake, right?
What's the problem? If they made it in 1978, we can make it in the 2020s. No problem. How wrong we were. How wrong. I mean, Space Invaders is probably one of the most complicated arcade machines out there. It was a black and white CRT television screen with gel color over the top. Color TVs weren't invented then. It had these gels over the black and white screen. Now, CRTs, black and white ones, emit a lot of light. So it emits a lot of light, reflects off a mirror, and then with the fluorescent tube at the top, gives this fantastic glow. When you put an LED LCD screen in, it doesn't emit light like a CRT screen does. So
you don't get that Pepper's Ghost effect, which is all the appeal of the game.
Yeah. So we're talking to the factory saying, well, surely let's just make a screen that emits lights. No, it doesn't. It doesn't do it anymore.
Just turn the brightness up.
Exactly. It's it. A fluorescent tube. You can't buy miniature fluorescent tubes.
No, same kind of thing. That warm glow that really is hard to replicate with something like an LED strip.
And then we thought the angle of reflection, so it plays the game backwards into a mirror that reflects. Surely, if we just replicate, so we've actually got a Space Invaders in our office, and we took it to pieces and we measured the angles. But when you shrink the angle down into a quarter scale, it's not the same angle. So we're trying all these different things. So you've got the angle problem. You've then got the fluorescent tube problem. You've got the CRT not emitting the correct light. So all of these things we didn't think. We naively thought it was made in 1978. This is going to be easy. It's not. It's the most difficult, painful project we've ever done. And we went through a number of factories to do it. We've done it. So it's one thing making a handmade sample and getting it to work. It's then breaking that down into mass production. How are you going to manufacture this economically? And it's honestly, we've learned so much from doing it, but it has been a project that's been very tough. And then in the middle of that, we had COVID. So, we couldn't deal with China. You couldn't send products. They were closed. We were closed. So it's caused another 2-year delay in the product. However, fast forward those years, and here it is. And
it looks great.
I know I'm biased, but it is without doubt the best arcade machine on the market. It is phenomenal. We sent it to Taito, Japan, and the inventor of Space Invaders was playing it last week, and we've got photos to share and videos to share on our Facebook group, hopefully either this week or next week. But it was a real touching moment seeing the inventor playing the quarter scale, and he really loved it. We also had an open day here in our offices in Welwyn Garden City, just outside of London, where we invited some key loyal fans to our office to get their hands on it, and they were blown away with it as well. So we're pleased how it came out. I never want to do it again.
Yeah, thankfully you guys don't have to. Like I said, you got Space Invaders and you got Space Invaders 2 lined up, so you killed two birds with one stone. I applaud you guys for sticking with it, because I know how tempting it may have been just to wash your hands and say, hey, look, this is way more complicated than we thought. This is turning into a money pit, way too much time investment for resources. So I applaud you guys for sticking with it, because I know a lot of people were excited when you first announced it years ago. People placed pre-orders long time ago. So I know there's going to be a lot of excited people when these first start hitting doorsteps soon.
Yeah, it shipped, so it's on the water, and I think people will start getting their hands on it inside probably in about 2 weeks' time. So I'm excited, and I'm also nervous as well, because our baby is going to get into the hands. But I truly believe that everyone's going to say it's been well worth the wait, and what we've done is phenomenal.
Nice. Well, shifting gears and talking about the other little elephant next to Space Invaders there, you guys also came out and announced and developed Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, as well as its sequel, Turtles in Time. You got a full 4-player cabinet there, and you also have some new features on this machine that you don't see on other quarter arcades. Talk about that and what it kind of took to develop that.
Yeah, so our key selling point is that we do 100% replicas, or as close to the real thing as you can possibly get You look at the coin doors, the artwork. I think one of our competitors, Arcade One Up, got a lot of bad comments, negative feedback around the artwork, around the girl wearing the engagement ring on the artwork. So we've made sure that this is a true replica. I think the Arcade One Up didn't play the original soundtrack. We went and got the license for the original soundtrack. Good. So we paid the extra money to get the original soundtrack in there, which is great for us. The one thing that we thought about long and hard was, because it's a 4-player, is it's not comfortable. You can play 4 players.
It's very difficult to get that many adult hands in there.
Yeah. So the one feature that we wanted to add that sort of detracts away from it being a true replica is adding USB ports so that you can play 4 players with your friends. So these doors open, the coin doors, and you can plug your USB controllers. Any USB controller should work. So you can play 4-player with your friends. So that is the only difference that we sort of shied away from the true replica.
I love that you guys put it in the coin doors. Like, it's obviously probably tempting and a little probably easier to manufacture if you guys just put 4 USB slots on the back of it. But I love the attention to detail of actually putting it in the lower bin there, where the coin bucket would be for the receptacle. I like that little detail a lot.
Yeah. No, it gives you a choice. If you don't want to, if you want to play 1-player or 2-player, it's perfect. So the USB ports are hidden away, but if you do feel like you want to play 4-player, or even 1 or 2-player, it works on whatever. We do sell the Quarter Arcade controllers as well. The controller
it has a little like a joystick attachment for the D-pad.
Yeah. That is so, but that also unscrews, so you can either play it like a joystick, or you can unscrew it and play it as a D-pad. So again, we give you the option which way you prefer to play.
That's awesome. Speaking of accessories, you guys have branched out. Besides USB controllers, you've been adding a lot of options for quarter scale accessories that kind of go in for people that are building a diorama or a set piece. You've got brick wallpaper. You've got like retro inspired carpet. You got mini arcade posters, arcade stools. How and why did you guys decide to start adding those type of things to the lineup?
Well, we started seeing, so people in the communities share their setup, and they've been sort of doing their own DIY. Some people have got floor mats and do making their own with 3D printers, their own accessories, etc. And a lot of people say, "Oh wow, where did you get that from? Oh, where can I buy that? Oh, make me one, will you?" So we decided to go into making some accessories. So when you see people's setups, you've got the wallpaper, you've got the carpet. The first thing we did was stools. So stools is something that's been the most popular accessory. We are planning to do more. We sort of paused. So Space Invaders, because of the long time, the sort of radio silence. So whenever we sort of posted something, whether it's an accessory or something else we're working on, quite rightly, the community came back to us and said,
but what about
what about Space Invaders? We stopped talking about the new stuff. Get Space Invaders done. So we agreed. But you know what? Fair point. We'll stop development and working on other stuff, including accessories, and get Space Invaders done. And when Space Invaders is done, and we can sort of say, right, it's coming, then we can really crank up what we're doing. So in terms of accessories, there's more coming. We are going to do fire extinguishers. We're going to do trash cans. We're going to do radiators, gumball machines, security cameras. We took them to some of our consumer shows here in the UK, and believe it or not, the one that got the most attention was the trash can.
Really?
Everyone says, "Where can I buy that trash can?" It's incredible.
You never thought you would be in a business where you're literally producing trash receptacles and selling them to consumers, did you?
Exactly, but everyone wants it. We also took the Pepsi and 7-Up machine to an exhibition in Blackpool recently. There was a big retro arcade convention, and we took our setup there. And the little cans that dispense from the Pepsi and 7-Up machine were stolen. Literally,
I imagine those would be hard to keep a track of for the entire show. But I'm not shocked or surprised. I'm saddened, but I'm not shocked or surprised to hear that people took those as souvenirs. So speaking of the 7-Up and the Pepsi machine, so you've got another foray into USB hubs and charge machines, right?
Yes. So as the arcades as there's more and more arcades, you need more USB hubs. So the first one we launched was Polybius. So that charges, I think, eight machines. But we want to add other things into the setup. And we had a choice. We either had Coca-Cola or Pepsi, which USB hub we wanted to do. And we were actually wanted to do Pepsi because we were working on another project with them to do Pepsi Perfect. So we had the Pepsi Perfect sunglasses and the drink bottle.
Yeah. So Back to the Future stuff.
That's right. So to celebrate Back to the Future Day, we were sort of, do we do Coca-Cola? Do we do Pepsi? And we said to Pepsi, we want to celebrate Back to the Future Day. Can we do Pepsi Perfect? We do the bottle, the T-shirt. We did the hat that Martin McFly.
Yeah, the super shiny reflective hat. Yeah.
Yeah, and these sunglasses. And we said, if Pepsi say yes, we can do that, then we go in Pepsi. If they say no, we go to Coca-Cola. Because you can't do both. There's a clause in the contracts that says
which makes sense.
Yeah. So that's why we went with Pepsi. So we made the Pepsi 7-Up. It's finished tooling. We are probably going to share images in about 2 weeks' time. So the sequence of events is we want people to get Space Invaders in their hands and go, wow, great. This is exactly, it's worth the time that we've been waiting. We don't want to announce anything more to pre-order and put your money down until that's in people's hands. So I think the first week of December, roughly, we'll open the pre-orders for Pepsi and 7-Up at the same time.
Okay.
And they will be delivery around February, March, I think.
Nice.
So it's
not going to be years away. Yeah, that's
it's close to starting manufacture already. So we are going to open up the pre-orders. We're going to manufacture a limited amount of stock, and then we'll look at what other licenses to do. So within the Pepsi stable, there's also Mountain Dew. But Mountain Dew is a big drink in North America. It's not so popular in Europe. So we're 50-50 on what to do there.
Is there any thought or consideration to maybe just selling like art kits? So I don't know how easy these things are to open up or whatever. Maybe somebody that has a Pepsi one buys a licensed, Mountain Dew art kit from you versus buying a completely, separate USB machine.
Yeah, it is something we gave serious consideration to, but then people would have to start opening.
Yeah, and that opens a literal can of worms when you have consumers cracking open products that are technically probably not designed to be opened and played around with too much.
Yes, so these are electrical devices. They've got serious amount of power coming in to power 6, 7, 8 arcade machines. So it comes with a pretty hefty power brick. So the last thing we want to do is to say to people, open it up and you can change the stickers. You're dicing to death, and I don't fancy going to prison.
No, it's probably not worth the lawsuit just to change out a couple of stickers. I don't blame you there. You mentioned you guys have been to a lot of conventions and shows over the last year. Has there been any sort of feedback that you've got from consumers that made you guys go, oh, wow, why didn't we think of that? Or something that said, oh, thank God, we made the right call here.
Yeah. So there's sort of two answers to that question. The first thing is when we go to shows, it's amazing. So a lot of dads take their kids. I'm sure, you'll take your son when he's of age to show them this is where gaming started. So, what we find is when we go to these conventions, it's dads showing their children, look at this, look at Pac-Man. And some kids are really impressed with it. And some kids are like, it's not Fortnite.
Yeah. This is the Back to the Future quote. You have to use your hands? What?
Yeah. But, the mums and the dads are very passionate and they want to share their childhood and nostalgic memories with their children. So the fact that we've got all these arcades lined up for the mums and dads to play and show their children, it pulls on your heartstrings sometimes watching that. And, people want to talk to you and share their nostalgic memories. I had a guy talk to me at a show about a game called Tapper. I'd completely forgotten about Tapper. I mean, wow, what a game.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. Second thing is the community is very, very important to us. It really does shape what we're doing with Quarter Arcades. I'm not exaggerating when I say we read every single comment. Me, my business partner, Darren, who runs the group, Chris Hill, Frank Lake does production. We read every comment on the Quarter Arcades Facebook pages. We also read a lot of feedback on New Wave Toys, and we also read comments on RK1UP, so we can understand what to do better. So, for instance, the RK1UP bad feedback around the woman wasn't, the engagement ring. Oh, good point. We make sure we'll do that. There's been 3 other things that I can probably point out. So we put the picture of the arcades on the group, and someone will go, hold on, those buttons look wrong. So this is Turtles in Time.
Yeah, I remember I had a different color joystick top for Michelangelo. I was like, are you guys going to use yellow or are you going to use orange? Because exactly. One is accurate, one is not.
No, yeah. So we'd gone down the road with Konami and Nickelodeon. They signed it off. This is it. This is done. And the arcade that we've got, so we get access to lots of arcades here in the UK. So we'll go and look at an arcade. And what had happened is somebody had fixed a Turtles in Time and put these keys on it.
Yes.
But we think this is the right color. And it was only when we posted a picture, a fan on the fan group went, they look like the wrong colors. So it's orange.
It was me. It was 100% me. I will plead guilty because that was the first thing I noticed. I was like, oh my God, this looks amazing. Wait a minute.
Yeah. So we've gone back and fixed that. Another one was Elevator Action and Zookeeper. Was the instructions light up. So you have the control panel, and above that you've got the instructions, and they light up. Now, the ones that we've got at our local arcade don't light up. Now, we didn't open it up. We just thought that was correct.
Yeah.
So, we've designed it with the instructions above that. And there's someone on the fan group went, I hope they make the instructions light up. What's he on about? The instructions light up.
What?
The arcade, opened it up and had to get underneath the machine.
Yeah. And then you found some burnt bulbs probably. Yeah.
The bulbs are gone. So it's like, crikey. The group, the community are fantastic. We will always listen and do what we can, but it's a two-way thing. They are helping us shape what we do. And God forbid, we miss minor details and it gets picked up on, which is great. And we'll go back and fix that where possible.
Yeah. Well, I applaud you guys. You guys are definitely, always involved with the community. You're always, doing reveals and things like that on the Facebook group. And like you said, operating with fan feedback. I remember when track and field was kind of up in the air, you guys had posted the question, hey, would you guys be, open to alternative artwork on this? And I know you guys were tossing around the idea of like changing the construction from wood to plastic. And, you guys listen to community feedback. What do they want to see? And I applaud you guys for that, because there's a lot of other companies that just kind of do their own thing behind closed doors. And at the end of the day, they're like, here's the product. You can take it or leave it.
Yeah. No, the community is vital and pivotal in the success or failure of what we do. We're passionate about the arcades, and everyone else is very passionate. So we want to go on this journey together. We do read a lot of the comments, as I said, a lot of them around licensing. So I think when we announced the recent releases, there was, why are you not doing Robotron? We want to do Robotron. It's not like we're not listening, but unfortunately,
it's harder than people think. Like I said, a lot of people that don't understand licensing. We sit on the other side of the keyboard and think, well, you just knock on Mr. Robotron's door and ask him if he wants to make a deal, right?
Yeah. If you lend me £1 million, I'll go and get it for you.
Speaking of a couple of titles you guys have already announced, haven't really seen an update in a while. It's the Taito Trio, as I would call it. So Elevator Action, Kicks, and what was it? Zookeeper. That's right. Is there any news or development information you guys can share on that one?
So we've made the instructions light up now. One of the big feedbacks around Space Invaders and Turtles, and we heard this loud and clear, it's too expensive. We had to put the price up. The cost of manufacturing these two cabinets is significantly higher. So to put it into context, the tooling alone on these machines is $100,000. So we have to pay $100,000 each just to get production underway, and then there's all the components and the shipping and the royalties, etc. So when we went out at, I think it's $300, that's not us profiteering. We make hardly any money out of that, but it's, the feedback is it's still too expensive. So Tato should be significantly cheaper. It will be cheaper. At the moment, it's not significantly cheaper. So I think the tooling for the Tato machines is going to be another $100,000. And we're expecting to sell between 1,000 and 2,000 units of each machine. So that would dictate a price, perhaps $20, $30 cheaper than Space Invaders. And I don't think that's enough. I think we need to be $50 cheaper, given that, it is a different arcade. So what we're doing at the moment is we're doing a tooling review. We've announced, obviously, 5 new machines coming. So we need to get the tooling down. You don't want to pay $100,000 for these 4 cabs. We can pay $100,000 for 7 or 8 cabs. We can split the cost across multiple machines so that hopefully we can bring the SRP down. So that's where we're at. They're developed, they're approved. We're just we're reevaluating the tooling to see whether we can share tooling across other machines so that we can bring the SRPs down $50 below what these ones are. Then if we can achieve that, we'll announce them, we'll pre-order, we'll go to manufacture. If not, we'll just be transparent and say that they are cheaper, but they're not significantly cheaper where we want them to be. We want Quarter Arcades to be affordable for everyone. I think with the price increase in Space Invaders and Turtles, we've alienated some fans, and we want to get back to a lower price point.
Well, I appreciate that transparency because it goes a long way. I think your consumers are going to be far more understanding one way or the other with things like that, just being flat out openly said, say, look, we're going to try to make these as cheap as possible. We want to make them cheaper. And if that means, holding them back for pre-order and release a little while, then, it is what it is. So I, as a consumer, appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, Quarter Arcades isn't a business that you could live off. It's a passion project, and we are, if someone, a venture capitalist, came in from outside and looked at Quarter Arcades, he would say, "Stop doing it. What are you doing?"
Get rid of it. That is not a profitable subsection.
Yeah, it's not worth it. The amount of man hours we spend, but we're enthusiasts. We want to do it. I think there is a business there when we get further on down the line, when we can start doing Donkey Kong and Star Wars. But right here, right now, it's not a business that any sane person would do. But we are going to persevere with it. We love it. It's a passion project. And we try and make everyone happy.
And persevere indeed. Just this last week, you guys have announced numerous cabinets being in the future scheduled release window for maybe 2024, 2025. So you had the Real Ghostbusters, you had Pong, BurgerTime, Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninja, Lunar Lander. I mean, you guys have definitely been busy behind the scenes.
Yeah, busy or crazy. I think there's 2 machines there that scare the life out of me. And that is Lunar Lander, because you've got the thruster. Right. Yeah. So we've now got to develop this thruster.
Yeah. Not your standard, just joystick and button.
No. BurgerTime, Bad Dude versus Dragon Ninjas, I think we can do fairly easily. But, we've decided to go for something with a thruster. Oh, no. Okay. Another one's Pong. I read some comments that, Pong's going to be cheaper. If you look at Pong as an arcade, it's a black and white monitor that's recessed quite deeply into into the arcade cabinet, and then you've got 2 metal dials to flip the paddles again. So Pong isn't going to be easy.
You're not going to make that same mistake that you made with Space Invaders of looking at an older game and saying, piece of cake.
I think we've done that.
Yeah.
It's made in the 1970s. It's going to be easy. But it's not going to be easy. But what we know now, I think, if we can do Space Invaders, then I think anything's possible. So yeah, with the new, what we're doing now is we've bought some 3D scanners and we've developed this new piece of software. So what we're now doing is we are going to these arcades and literally hand scanning every single element of the original arcade so that we get it as close to the replica as possible. And that includes the artwork. So prime example is Data East, who do BurgerTime, Bad Dudes, and Ghostbusters. So we've signed the contract, and they've said, brilliant, but we don't have any artwork, we don't have the ROMs. You are on your own.
Yeah, good luck.
Sometimes you're thinking, well, what are we paying for here?
Yeah.
But you'll be amazed. They don't own. No one owns the original artwork. Again, back in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, no one
was thinking 30 years in the future that somebody's going to repurpose this or need this for a different thing. It was, one and done projects.
That's it. So let's save that for the future, because who knows what they're going to do in 30 years' time. So we have to do everything by hand. I remember doing Miss Pac-Man, and Namco gave us the artwork. They actually said, here's the artwork for Miss Pac-Man. I went, oh, brilliant, can't believe it. And then we sort of started developing the machine. Again, we put it on the fan group, and someone went, hold on, that marquee's not right. It's different. Is it? No, it can't be. Namco have given us.
Yeah, they gave it to us. Why would it be different? Yeah.
So you start looking at it. So we actually brought a Miss Pac-Man, and we started putting them. Actually, it's not right, is it? Geez, there was just subtle differences that were different to the artwork that Namco did. So Namco had paid someone to replicate the artwork.
Yeah, to make it to the best of their ability, what it was like.
Yeah. So we had to go back to Namco and say it's not right, and they said, no, you have to use our artwork. No, it's not right. Look at the differences. No, you have to use our artwork. No, you don't understand. This is a replica machine. If we put it out there with this artwork,
it defeats the purpose. Yeah. Yeah.
People are going to kill us. So we had that conversation with them, and thankfully they agreed in the end. It's okay, you can use your artwork. So our artwork is the original artwork, but we had to do it from hand. But going through Ghostbusters, Pong, BurgerTime, Lunar, Bad Dudes versus Dragon Ninja, we have to do the artwork from scratch, or what we're doing now, as I said, we're scanning the artwork, and then we'll dot the missing bits up, but also the shape and how the sizing between the joysticks, the buttons, everything,
the scale, dimension, all of it,
and scale it back down. So it's the first time we're using this technology, but it should, touch wood, speed things up, but also make it true to the original machine, assuming that the machines that we're using haven't been changed with like color buttons and light bulb.
Yeah. Well, the good thing is, once you guys, have some in-hand prototypes or some model kits, suited up, just throw some pictures on the official Facebook group. We'll let you know for sure.
Exactly. That is the plan.
That's awesome. I'm super excited to, you guys are working on these. I'm a huge Ghostbusters fan, so I'm excited to see that one, add that one to the collection. I was always bummed as a kid that it was a 3-player instead of a 4-player game. Poor Winston got left out of the mix on that one, but what can you do? That's what the game developers, that's nothing that, you guys are going to get faulted for sure. But is there anything else that you guys maybe haven't announced? Or no, go ahead.
Well, there seems to be different Ghostbusters machines out there. We're going to do the 3-player version. And there's one with like the Proton Pack controllers, and I think there's a 2-player one. So I think they did slightly different variations, but we're going to do the 3 joystick.
Yeah, when I hear the Real Ghostbusters Arcade, I think of the 3-player configuration that you guys are going after. So that's great. That's, like I said, that's in my mind's eye what I visualize. So excited about that. Like I said, I always wished as a kid that it was, the Konami style 4-player and you got to be 4 Ghostbusters, because it would make the most sense. But again, it's not how the game was made. That wasn't how it was created. So nothing to fault you guys for.
Yeah. Thank you. So to answer your question, what else are we doing? We are this close to Robocop right now.
That would be great.
It's the one that a lot of people are asking for.
Great Data East game for sure. And since you've already got a working relationship with Data East, that hopefully works smoothly if that goes out well. I know I'd be excited about that one.
Yeah. So going back to the 4 buckets, this one's in one of those buckets. It's not easy. So it's like being a detective. We're having to track down who owns what. So the original film was made by Orion Pictures. They licensed Robocop video game to a company called Ocean Software, who was based in Manchester in England. Data East went to Orion Pictures and said, can we do an arcade cabinet? And they said, oh, we've already licensed it to Ocean Software. Go and speak to those guys. So Ocean Software then licensed the video game rights to Data East to make the Robocop arcade. Back in September 2010, Data East sold the rights to Robocop to a company called D4 Enterprise in Japan. So Data East don't own the rights anymore. So we've agreed a contract with MGM. So MGM Studios, who now own Orion, they own the Robocop brand. We've got the Ocean Software license from Atari. So Ocean Software has been passed around and is now
numerous
owned by
times,
Atari. Numerous times, and it's owned by Atari. So they're happy. But it's now the software. So Data East, not us, we sold it to D4 Enterprise. So not us. It's like, okay, well, can we use your logo? No. Okay. Can you introduce it to D4 Enterprise? No.
Yeah.
Oh, crikey. So going back to the community, we were exhibiting at Gamescom in Germany. We had our Quarter Arcades set up. And this guy came onto the stand, Italian guy called Matteo, who lives in Japan. Italian guy lives in Japan, lived there a long time, speaks Japanese. And he said, I can't believe you guys are here. I collect New Wave toys and I collect Quarter Arcades. Oh my God, this is just fantastic. I can't believe it. And he was a real fanboy. And we kept in contact. And us, we swapped details because he works in the video game industry in Japan. And I talked to him recently and said, oh, look, I'm at a loose end here. Robocop, do you know a company called D4 Enterprise? And he introduced me to the chairman of D4 Enterprise, who's now looking at introducing us or licensing the Robocop software to us. And again, it's the community that's
a small world that, just happenstance that you come across somebody that maybe has that, foot in the door with you.
Yeah. Otherwise, it was one of those ones that's just lost forever because I'm not sure how many people persevere with trying to find out who owns what. So hopefully the stars align on this one. We've got 2/3 of the jigsaw solved. We just need D4 Enterprise to confirm that they do own the software and they're willing to license it. And then all three parties, we can release Robocop.
Yeah. Well, I applaud you guys because I know how complicated it is. It's complicated just hearing about it. I mean, I'm visualizing a whiteboard with lots of arrows drawn to this, to that, to this, to try to connect all the dots so you guys can, finally land the plane, so to speak, and get, all the dotted lines signed by everybody, because that is a complex process. It's not just knocking on one person's door, as you described with other licensors. It gets really hairy, especially when you're dealing with, movie IP things, because that's a whole nother, connection to the video games in itself.
Honestly, it's some games are lost for eternity. They're gone. Those beautiful arcade cabinets. One that we were working on or desperately trying to is Pirate Pete, which is a Taito cab. We cannot find anything about it. Taito are happy to give us the license for it. We cannot find a cabinet anywhere. I don't know if anyone owns one. Anyone out there has one, because we would love to talk to you. Because you even Google Pirate Pete and it's just, you cannot see any art.
Crickets. Yeah. Just crickets. Yeah, or maybe a blurry thumbnail that's maybe this big or something.
So yeah, if anyone has access to Pirate Pete, we would love to do that, because that's one that I don't want to lose for eternity. We can revamp that and bring it to life again.
Well, I wish you the best of luck, because just from a historical preservation, the history nerd inside me always wants to see good things come for the side of history, and restore and bring these things back to the modern age, and like you said, show to a younger generation that have no experience or understanding of some of these games that would be lost to time otherwise. So I wish you guys the best success in that avenue. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to talk quarter scale arcades. It's been very illuminating to me personally, and I know a lot of the people are going to be watching this are going to learn a lot. Where, if somebody is just learning about quarter scale arcades for the first time, where would you suggest they go as far as learning about the product and maybe pre-ordering some?
Yep. So we have a website, so you can go to quarterarcades.com. or you can just simply go to Numskull, numskull.com. That will take you to all the products that we do, including Quarter Arcades.
Awesome. Straightforward and very simple. Well, I appreciate it so much. Thank you for taking the time, and we'll go ahead and wrap this up and wish everybody, good, happy hunting, and hopefully they are enjoying their new Space Invaders or Turtles machines that are hitting the water soon.
Lovely. Thanks for your time. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.